Dude. Oh man, we need some tunes or something. Hey, here we go. Hey, come on in, guys. Just whenever y'all get ready, and we'll get a couple of things posted here in a second, and we'll get started. It'll be fun. Let's see. Let's get this together. Should work. All right. Oh no. Hey, there we go. Let's see. Add post. Yeah. All right, so I just posted in the comment section the battery audition packet. For anybody who doesn't have that packet, you can go grab it there right now. It's just a Google Drive link, nothing fancy. But that way you can kind of follow along with us as we kind of get this stuff going, and yeah, we start to get better. Yeah. Cool. So, you know, this is a little different, but I think it's going to be fun. Let me pull the comments down real quick. There we go. Gotta get where I can see where I can read all those questions and stuff if you have any comments. Well, it looks like we got one person on the audition. Good. Let's see. Very cool. You know, first of all, thank you for checking this out, and I know it's a little bit of a different circumstance than we normally do. It's always more fun to do this in person and kind of like get in there and really work stuff out. But hey, you know, under the circumstances, this is going to be fine. I do want to take a minute and honor all the seniors who you know didn't get to finish the indoor season the way they wanted to. They were. I believe that was the first group that I've had that was like I had them all through their high school career, and so that'll always be a special group of kids to me. They worked hard and they've laid the foundation for the program that you're about to walk into. You know, whether you've already been with us a couple of years or if you're an 8th grader coming into 9th grade, there's a lot of really, really good people that have worked really hard to get the level of the program up to where it is, and we need to always remember that, you know, we walk on the shoulders of giants kind of thing. I just want to thank all the previous members for sure. Cool. With that, let's get started. Grab your packet and open it up if you can. And remember, you can always go back and watch this. This is not gonna be a really long video, because honestly, what I need you to do is just to go back and practice the stuff and review the video yourself. You know, I don't need to make a 2-hour video of practice. I can just make a 30-minute video, and you can go watch it 4 times, right? Yep. So let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about our grip right quick. I need to get these comments swiped off. How do I do that? There we go. All right. So, start our grip. There's 2 ways to do it. Most people talk about you make a T with your fulcrum, You hold your grip, and then you wrap your other fingers around, and they play like that. That's pretty good. That's what most people do, and there's a good reason for it, because one thing it really emphasizes the fulcrum that we play with. Because, see, the stick has to bounce. It has to have movement. But one thing that tends to do when we start kids out that way is they tend to actually just focus on the T grip, and they forget about these 3 fingers. So then they end up playing a lot of this, and these fingers are actually like not doing anything. So they're like, oh yeah, look, I'm drumming, and they have no control of what they're doing, and they don't have very good sound quality either. What we need to remember is that every finger is important, right? So the way I like to actually talk about it is like this. Make a fist, right, and take the stick and slide it down through the fingers, okay? Even though the fulcrum is important and there is a time to use that, every finger has to do its job. You know, the truth is, as much as we talk about the T-grip and the fulcrum and how great that is, even if you didn't have a first finger, you could still be an incredible drummer. Even if you, like, you know, lost it and you only had 4 fingers, you could still be an incredible drummer, because these back 3 fingers doing a whole lot. Like even with this, see? As opposed to this, all right? This ends up transferring a lot more of the mass of your hand and your arm into the drum, which translates into a bigger sound. That's kind of what we're doing with marching band, is we're always just trying to make a really big sound. Concert band, orchestral stuff, you know, it's a lot different. It's very, very T-grip, very, you know, light kind of weight stuff. But for marching band, it's kind of like, can we hit forte at every level? So, oh, we're playing 3 inches? Cool, play forte at 3 inches. Now we're playing 6 inches? Okay, let's play forte at 6 inches. Oh, we're playing 9 inches? Play forte at 9 inches. Oh, 12? Forte at 12. Forte at 15. We hit the drum hard for every note. And if every person is drumming at a forte, regardless of your height, then we just adjust the height to make the dynamics work. And from player to player, you sound good. Kind of like you've got to make a big resonant sound. And in order to do that, you've got to put weight into the drum. Kind of like if you had 2 trumpet players and one trumpet player was going hee, and the other one was going nah, right? Those are 2 different sounds, and one of them's going to punch through and be nice and present. The other one's going to be thin and choked off and not blend well. The same thing happens on a drum. Every person needs to hit the drum with a full sound, okay? So let's talk about that right quick. We got our grip here. We've already kind of worked on this one, right? For those traditional players, for those people that are wanting to go out for snare drum, let's talk about the traditional grip for a second. It's pretty easy. Basically, you take your stick, put it in the V there, right? Now, you take it and hold it. What's holding that on? It's the pressure from the thumb. Take your thumb, push it into the palm. That's what's holding the stick right now, right? This right here is 90% of your traditional grip. You take this grip, right, and even with here, like this, you can still, right, have a pretty good sound. It definitely will bounce, and you'll have a lot of mass. Since the thumb is pushing into the hand, it creates a big mass joint here for the whole back part of the hand, which translates to a lot of weight going into the drum, which is what we want. We want a big, nice, resonant, weighty drum sound. Right? So we take this. First thing, let's take these 2 fingers. We hold it up. Okay, let me get in here for a second. So, right here, this guy here, you're gonna end up having a big, nice callus right here right before the knuckle, where the drumstick lays right there. Might be the best thing. I don't know. You take your stick, and it lays right there, right on the front of the knuckle. Basically between the knuckle and the nail. Most of the real instructors call it the cuticle, okay? It's the point where the skin and the nail touches. That's kind of where you want to rest that stick, okay? Let's go back. We got our grip. You take that and curl it, okay? Now, if you'll notice, my pinky finger is basically mimicking the ring finger. They kind of hang out like a Ninja Turtle finger or something, right? You just have 2 fingers doing the exact same thing. So we've got our grip. We got where this would be the fulcrum if I didn't say that. Or just like the T-grip ends up being the fulcrum here, the right there, that ends up being the fulcrum point. Then we hold the bottom fingers here, right? So even from here, now with even these two fingers not doing anything, we've got a grip on the stick where the fulcrum is, and we can control the upstroke, like picking up motion with the bottom fingers. So right now, even with here, you can do a lot. I mean, you can have a lot of control. You can have a really big sound, even if you didn't have these two fingers, right? Now, thankfully, we do have extra fingers, so they can do some extra work. We take the index finger, and we take it and we wrap it around the stick. Man, I'm trying to get the camera angles are weird. Here we go. You wrap it around the stick, and you take the thumb and you connect it. So, zoomed in. We take the index finger here, that first knuckle joint, and we take the thumb and put on it like that. Boom, right? If some of you might have really large fingers, and that's okay, then in most cases, you take the thumb and you put it in between the first and second little joint there on the index finger, like that. Okay, it depends on the size of your hand. I got little baby hands, so for me, it's the first crease or the first knuckle. Okay, so we take a stick, put it there, hold it up with here, and we take the index finger, lay it across the stick, connect the thumb to the first crease, and then the middle finger, right, the root finger. What we do is we take it and we just lay it nice, relaxed on top of the stick. Okay. It doesn't mimic some of y'all the tendencies to do like these two put together like that, but it's not really like that. That actually causes tension in the middle of the hand. What we want to do is hold it like this and then just lay the middle finger on top, okay? It doesn't do that much to the stroke, arguably, but it does kind of just help have a little more mass touching the stick, which is always a good thing. The more flesh we can put on the sticks, the better this thing's going to sound, okay? So we've got a right hand for most people, right? We're already talking about every finger touches the stick, and you got your fulcrum right here, and we got the nice complete traditional grip. Here we go. So let's take just a second on your own and just play some eighths. Like when I say eighths, play like eighth notes, played at forte at 12 inches, and just let the stick bounce like this. Right? You're taking the left hand and doing the same thing. Just let the stick bounce, okay? Now, in the left hand, the motion is primarily if you're grabbing and you're turning the doorknob, it's that motion, okay? This is also the same motion for bass drum players, right? So bass drummers and left-handed snare players, that's the same motion. That kind of works out for y'all, okay? So we just turn. See how that pivots? For the right hand, we turn from the wrist. Jum, 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 right? So we got, oh, that angle sucks. Turn, 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 and bend, 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 right? From the wrist, okay? Here we go. So let's try, tell you what, go ahead and turn to page. Oh, Lord. Page 58 in your packet. As soon as we get back together, I will we'll print you off a packet if you don't have one. But until then, you can use the link or print out your own and get started. Here we go. So 8 on the hand. The pattern's real simple though. It's 8 on the right hand, 8 on the left hand, 16 on the right hand. And then 8 on the left hand, 8 on the right hand, 16 on the left hand. So you can think of it as 8, 8, 16, 8, 8, 16. Okay? Here we go. Let's get some metronome going, because here's the rule. If you're drumming but you're not playing with a metronome, then you're not really practicing, okay? You might be banging on a drum and you might be having fun, but you're not actually getting better unless you run with a met, okay? So we always try to do everything with the metronome here, because if you ain't figured it out, it's really hard enough to get like 20 kids to play the exact same thing in time. And so if you're just playing what you feel, your tempo is going to be all out of whack and we're never going to be clean. But if everybody goes with the metronome, then everybody will be dead on. Cool? Here we go. Let's get a tempo check. Yeah, we'll slow it down a little bit. All right, this is be like a 115. Let's see the sound check. Yeah, Yeah, you can probably hear that, okay? Here we go. 8, 8, 16, letting the sticks bounce, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Cool. So that's the idea for the 8s exercise, is just to get the bounce motion going. There's a few different stroke types we'll get into, but the first one is just a bounce stroke. It's just simply taking the stick, throwing it down, and letting it bounce up. Okay? Just like you would a tennis ball, throwing it on the ground, or a basketball, dribbling. You throw it down, it hits the ground, it bounces back up, and you catch it. Even though you're not in control of it 100% of the pathway, you are in control of it because you're taking the ball and bouncing it. It's the same way with a drumstick. Some of you 8th graders are probably used to maybe holding too tight and being 100% in control the whole way. That usually leads to people like stopping the stick down and picking it up, so like this, as opposed to relaxing a little bit and letting the stick bounce. See the difference? You got bounce, and we got you controlling too much. See the change? Bouncing, nice and relaxed, and you overbearing, right? You want to make sure to have a nice big bounce stroke. Let's see here. Let me run the comment section, see if you got any questions. Okay, yeah, so Mr. Souter made the point, like, yeah, if you're wanting to audition for snare drum, then do left-hand traditional. If you are wanting to audition for quads or bass drum or flubs, then we do match grip. So it would be both hands this way. Does that make sense? Very good, very good. If you do have any questions about what I'm going over, just shoot a question in the comments. I'll either grab it here or in the future we'll answer every question in the comments after this post is done being live. Okay? So I guess, you know what? Y'all need to go ahead and grab a piece of paper so we can write down some notes. I'm going to keep talking because obviously later you can go back and review this whole thing again all week and use that to write things down. There's basically 4 stroke types. Actually, you don't even have to write that down. Where are we at? If you go turn to page... Yeah, if you turn to page 1, how about that? Need to get a marker. Alright, so page 1, down at the bottom right-hand side, it says there's 4 stroke types. The first one we were just talking about is full strokes, okay? Full strokes is the bounce stroke, and it starts up and ends up. So in other words, it's one complete stroke is where it bounces all the way up, like that, okay? Things that get in the way and make it overcorrect is like squeezing too much. I think we already talked about that. Squeezing will not let the stick bounce. Another thing is, even if you're relaxed but you throw the stick down and you leave your wrist down, then the stick is going to stay down. It's not going to bounce up. So your wrist has to throw it down and pop back up to make sure it doesn't get in the way. So you have to boom, like that, right? To make sure we actually let the stick bounce up. Okay? Keeping with that, let's look at, page 58. Go back to page 58. Let's look at that 8 on the hand exercise again. We'll do it again at 1:15 and just think about every note bouncing up and not stopping down. Okay, you got to let it bounce up. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Cool. So even this part right here, what we just did, you need to take that and you need to spend 15 minutes every day just doing 8s, just learning that pattern, right? if you start playing it and then you start getting bored, that's usually a good sign to bump it up some. So we were at 115 on the Met. Now go to 120 on the Met. Real quick about metronomes. If you don't have one, get one. They're super cheap. If you don't have one, I just Googled it on my computer. I just typed in metronome on Google, and apparently Google has their own metronome. You can grab that. There's a ton of free apps for your phones. You can just grab one. As long as it, as long as it's an app where you can control every tempo and it doesn't skip from like 120 to 124. You want it to be able to go 120, 121, 122, all the way up through there, and that'll really help. We'll put some in the description. We'll put some links to like some good apps to get, but any of them will work. So here we go. Back to my other point. If you get bored with what you're doing, well, first of all, you probably just don't know enough to know what to fix, and that's what we're going to work on as we kind of work on y'all's musicianship, and we get into more details. Even just playing 8 on hand, there's a ton of things to think about, but. One clear sign that you need to raise tempo up is when you're just getting really bored of something. So if you're playing it and you're like, yeah, it's kind of boring, then bump it up. So we were at 115. Here's the 120. 1, 2. Now, I'm trying to keep this video condensed a little bit, but in a normal rehearsal, like the first day we would come and do auditions, we would hit the Met, and we would just run that like 20 times. Anything you do, you need to be practicing for at least 5 minutes, because it's all about reps. You got to get reps on it. Regardless of anything you do, whether it's drums or it's driving a car or learning to cook or whatever, you've got to get practice on it. And the practice is what actually ingrains it in your body to go, okay, I got it. The first time you went to go pick up a little glass of tea when you were a little infant, you were probably terrible at it. You probably spilled it everywhere. That's why they invented sippy cups. But you know what? You keep practicing and eventually get good where you can just grab the drink and you're drinking it and you're chugging it. And you don't even think about the act of, let me extend my hand and let me wrap my fingers around the cup with a certain amount of pressure and pick it up, and don't tilt it or else I'll mess it up, and then I tilt it to my... You don't think about all those steps because you've done it so many times. It's the same thing with drumming. We're going to drum these basics and ingrain it in you with so many repetitions that you can't help but get it right. It's the old saying, you don't practice till you get it right, you practice till you can't get it wrong. That's a really good one. Okay. On full strokes, let's talk about a couple things you can do when you're working on this to check yourself out. I probably should have started with this, actually. Sorry, guys. When you come up to a drum, there's a couple of things, right? You can't just show up all willy-nilly and drum. If you noticed, if you've seen Buckhorn or you've seen any other drum line, you notice that everything they do it exactly the same. That's not an accident. That doesn't just happen. You don't just show up and just everybody's like clicking. It only happens if you actually make it happen. Okay? So what that means is everything we've done is defined. The first thing you do when you get ready to drum is you stand up straight. You've never seen a really good drum line where they're all like slouching or like whatever. You know what I mean? They're always standing up straight. It looks professional. You take your drumsticks. You have your grip, right? There's a certain way to do that. We've already talked about that. You come up and you put your beads. The tips of the drumstick is what we call the bead. You put the bead of the stick in the center of the head. And you don't want to just touch the head, right? Or you don't want to have it just floating off in space. You actually got to define it. So what we say is a finger width. 1 finger width between the head and the drumstick. There you go. You put both of them that way. Does that make sense? Hope so. Then what we do, we've got a finger width here. Now you take 2 fingers and touch the rim, okay? So now the stick is 2 fingers above the rim here and 1 finger space here, okay? If you notice, that creates a slight downward angle. That's good. You want it. We want to create a slight downward angle on things because it kind of helps us as we get more aggressive and play harder material to have a slight downward kind of presence with that. Obviously, you don't want to go too steep because that changes the sound. You go from go, 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 real thin sound, right? So you want to make mostly flat, but just slightly downward, right? Fingertips here, boom. All right, you do that for both hands. For snare drummers, same thing. You just are doing it here. Finger space, 2 finger space here. There you go. That's what we call our playing position. Okay, so when we say get to playing position, what we mean is stand up, grab your sticks with the proper grip, take your beads, put them in the center of the head together, 1 finger space above the head, 2 finger spaces above the rim. Bump, bump, right? That's your playing position. And from here, you just turn your wrist, okay? 90% of everything we play this season will be wrist turn. It's all in the wrist. Everybody heard that before, right? Drumming is all in the wrist. That is 90% true. Okay, if you do that, you drum with wrist only, you're going to be right 90% of the time. Okay, here we go. So let's practice that. Let's practice that now. So we're going to run the Met. We're going to play the 8/8 exercise, which is on page 58, and we're going to pay attention to our playing position, just turning our wrist. Cool. Here we go. 2, 1, 2, 3, go. One thing you'll notice is that the sticks are always pointing down except for when they're playing, right? So even though this hand is playing, this hand is still in playing position, ready to go, okay? There's a reason for that. Because if we start to let it float off, then when it comes time to actually play, then we're starting from here instead of here, right? Anytime you change anything, it's going to create dirt. The way you see a drum line and they all sound the same, they're doing the same thing every time, the way they can be so consistent in their playing is because they're consistent in their preparation, okay? In this case, when I'm playing the right hand, the left hand is consistently where it needs to be in the playing position. That way, when I take the first stroke, I know exactly where the drum is, all right? I know that sounds a little tedious, but this is a tedious game. It's got to be, you got to start from the same spot every time, right? If you let the stick float, as we're playing this hand, and then I try to go, well, now from here to here is a different distance than from here up to here, back to here, right? It's a shorter distance, right? So it would stand to reason that if I'm playing here, and then I've let this float up, right? And then all of a sudden I drop it, that's going to be a shorter distance than having to pick it up and down, right? So guess what? I'm going to be early in my left-hand attack if I let it float up. That's mostly what we see. It could happen the other way, though, but now that things are different, you could be late just because you maybe pick it up from there, and now you're way off, and so you could be late. But you see how it's way simpler just to leave your sticks down and in the spot until you're ready to play. Does that make sense? So we're going to try this again, 8s, and think about the hand that's not playing. You want to leave it down until it's ready to play, right? It's kind of for some of you that we're not used to that, especially the younger kids. That's one of the things that's kind of a dead giveaway that you're just now figuring things out, because you'll be letting them float around, you know what I mean? And instead of leaving it down, looking sharp. Let's try it. 2, 1, 2. Cool. So as you drum through that, you want to think about the hand that's not playing. It's got to be ready to go. Cool. We keep a lookout. We're going to be adding some files and some things and some practice videos that'll allow to kind of get some reps on a lot of this stuff. It's going to be really good. So that's 8 on a hand. That's the bounce stroke, right? Keeping with that bounce stroke this week, that's all we're going to do this week is just the full stroke, bounce stroke thing. Let's go to page Where we at? Where we at? Man, I tell you a really great one is go to page 6. On page 6, it's the single beat combinations. These pages look kind of boring because they're really repetitive looking, but they are incredibly challenging. All right, they're challenging because they're constantly messing with the stickings. Okay, we've dealt with one hand at a time playing, but now you got to start adding those things together, right? Obviously, drumline music is not just. You end up adding hands together to make the cool stuff, right? So we want to be able to add things together because that makes it twice as cool. All right, let's look at number 1. And down at the bottom of the page, you'll notice it says repeat each exercise 20 times. Generally, that's at least like a minute or 2 minutes. I like to do it like 2 minutes at a time. You just drum it, okay? And I'm going to make a practice video that'll kind of go along with this so you can start drumming this stuff. But that's the deal, man. Just each one of these, drum it for 2 minutes, okay? So let's, we're going to drum for like 15 seconds here. Let's check, let's see. What would that be, like 140? Something like that? I don't know. I'm an idiot. Maybe it's wrong. Let's see. Pretty close. All right, here we go. So let's do 140, and we're just going to do forte right here and get the hands moving. Number one on page 6, single beat combinations. 1, 2. Ooh, I'm terrible. That's the deal. Then you go to the next one. Number 2, 2 minutes later, you turn that one on. 2, 1, 2. Cool. 2 minutes later, you finish up with that one, right? I'm blazing through this because we just don't have time for me to sit here and practice all this stuff for you. You can go do that on your own time, and that's really fun. I'll tell you one thing, important practice tip. Metronome, you got to practice with a metronome. Or get out your favorite music and play with it. One of the two. It doesn't matter to me. A lot of times, music that you like and that's in time, well, most everything is in time. And maybe some of that old classic rock stuff. It's actually, they kind of rush and drag pretty bad. But any modern music made in the last 20 years is basically, they record stuff to a click anyway. So that stuff is really fun. So then you take an exercise that you need to drum and get plenty of reps on, and now you're just drumming, not just to a metronome, but you're drumming your favorite Justin Bieber track or whatever. That makes it more fun. Hopefully pick a better artist. Anyway. Here we go, number 3. Let's talk about number 3. Number 3 is where you introduce doubles, right? All it means is instead of playing one stroke, you let it bounce twice, okay? If we haven't said it already, the L and the R below the notes means left and right. That means your right hand and your left hand. Sorry if this video is backwards. I'm not sure if that works out right or not. But you get the idea. Here we go. Let's do number 3, doubles. Okay, here we go. Hit the mitt. 1, 2. Right? So, oh no, my metronome, here we go. All right, here we go. So, there's doubles, right? And you just go through this whole list. The next one is doubles off the left, and then number 5 is a paradiddle sticking, right? So you go. And then it starts to get into like some inverting and gridding the paradiddle, essentially, where it's right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left. It just goes down through all these different combinations of stickings. The reason this is so good is because, one, you're learning all these different sticking combinations, so then when we throw those things at you in show music, you're not surprised by it. It's not something new to you. You've already played them, right? If we sit there and we do like let's look at number 11. See, you go right, left, 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 right, left, left, left. If you've already spent 2 minutes one day doing that one, 2 minutes the next day, 2 minutes for like a whole week, what is that? 2 times 7 is 14. So if you spent 14 or 15 minutes one week drumming on right, left, 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 right, left, 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 then you're not going to have a problem when you get into show music and you're going, right? Because you've already seen that sticking. And that's how we kind of start to put these simple stickings and rudimentary ideas, and we start putting them together to make cool music. That first thing, right? All that is doubles. Right, left, 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 right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right. So we take like something the mama day sticking from number 3, and now we're playing them fast, and it sounds like a cool roll thing. Sorry, my hands I got terrible pad hands today. Pad hands. You gotta, if you, as soon as we can, we gotta get on drums and actually drum things, because playing on just a practice pad will definitely, it's easier to play on a practice pad than it is a drum, so therefore it's less work on a practice pad than it is a drum, which means you get a false sense of I'm real good. Okay? You'll be thinking you're good, and then you get on a real drum, and then you realize it's way more work, and you're like, oh, I'm not as good as I thought I was. Okay? You got to get on a drum as soon as we can. About that, where is it? I don't know where they are now. Anyway, I have a practice pad around here somewhere. And it's got like the soft gum rubber on one side, and then you flip it over, and it's got like this hard rubber. You definitely want to be practicing on the hard rubber side, because that helps with the not getting so much pad hands. You want to make it harder on yourself to drum. You definitely don't want to be just letting these gum rubber pads bounce up and like you actually got to be putting in work. Okay, so get on the hard side of your practice pad if you have one. That's a better option for sure. Okay, so for this week, one thing we forgot already, you got 8s you got to practice, okay? Do that at different tempos. I think we started at 115 today. Go from 115 to like 180. Working yourself up. Just go as, it starts out real simple, right? But then you need to get up and start pushing yourself, right? To build up speed, because all of this cool drumming stuff that you see and you want to do is actually really simple things. Just play fast, okay? Case in point, right? Rolls. That's a really cool thing, but all that really is right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, and then right, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, right, right. So that's a simple thing, but play fast. All of these things are like that. A paradiddle, right? Do we know about paradiddles? I'm sure most of you do. A paradiddle is a simple little rudiment. And you probably think like, yeah, paradiddles, I know those. They're kind of boring. No, they're only boring because you're playing them slow, okay? But you have to play them slow so you can learn the muscles, the muscle memory of it, and learn the hand motion so that you can play efficient. Then you can start speeding things up, and all of a sudden they're really cool, right? You go from paradiddle, paradiddle, boom, to, right? Don't sound bad like me, though. And then it's a lot of fun, right? So get excited about playing fast. That's going to be one really good thing. But backing up, let me say that with a caveat. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Okay? So, let's take the paradiddle while we're talking about it. a paradiddle, you got to put in the time to learn that, right? To play an accent and then accent tap, 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 accent tap, 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 and keep your taps down and be able to stop the accent down. We'll get into that. But when I was your age, I used to go home and try to spend 15, 20 minutes a day playing it slowly. Right? What I used to do back in the day, I called it 5 clicks every 5 minutes. And so every 5 minutes, I would play paradiddles like this for 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes of that, then I would bump it up 5 clicks and do it again. After 5 minutes, I would bump it up another 5 clicks. Right? And now I've done it so many times, I got a good muscle memory of it, and I can play it fast and play it. And most of the time, it sounds good when I'm not rusty. But it took time in the beginning of practicing things slowly and consistently. A lot of reps on it. Okay, just like the toddler grabbing the baby bottle, I was over there doing my paradiddles. You know what I mean? Pretty cool. Do we have any questions so far? Let me just refresh here. And nope, no questions. Wow, you guys must have everything figured out. So I would say let's review what we've got so far. You need page, what was that, 58? The 8 on the hand thing? Yeah, page 58. 8 on the hand, practice that, working yourself up, work faster tempos. And then page 6, I would do all of page 6 this week, just getting through those. Okay, spend a couple of minutes on each one of them. If you do like 6 a day, then you'll have it knocked out in 4 days. Does that make sense? Did you see what I just did? I just took a really long thing, like play page 6, play it 2 or 3 minutes a piece is what I just said, okay? That sounds like a lot. But then right after, I broke it up into chunks. I said, hey, do the first 6 in 1 day. What is that? 6 times, even if you do it 3 minutes a day, 6 times 3 is 18, okay? Great. 18 minutes a day for 4 days, and then you've got the task completed. That's the way you have to do anything. Any kind of big task has to be broken down into small tasks that you can actually complete, okay? Kind of like if I said, hey, man, you know what? You need to become like a space engineer or something, like for a spaceship. That seems kind of crazy. But if I say, hey, you need to take this math course, okay? And then after that one, you need to take this next math course. And then you need to know this biology thing. So take this science class and you do this next class. You see how it all builds on itself until one day you actually can do this thing that seems impossible right now. It's kind of the way it is with drums. You just looking at the big dogs, man, they're really good. And the way to get there is step by step, okay? And your first steps are what we're talking about here. Page 58, drum it a lot. Next is page 6, drum it a lot. Now, with that said, let's look at our next step, okay? Let's go to page 10. On page 10, you got the check patterns, the Duple check patterns. These are really great because they are they're every combination of a Duple rhythm that you could possibly play. When you see like a whole measure of some kind of big syncopated, right, some kind of weird thing, you don't play a measure at a time. All you do is you got to play a beat at a time, right? Right? You don't go, you go, right, and then the next beat, right, and then whatever I played, all right? You just break it down into each beat and play each beat. That's what this check pattern does, is it really easily shows you this is the first rhythm to learn. This is the second rhythm. And by the time you work your way down through all of them, you'll be able to play any crazy syncopated rhythm because it's just one beat at a time. You're not playing this whole phrase, you're just playing this beat, then the next beat, and then the next beat, and then the next beat. Am I going the right way? Maybe it looks like this. Left to right, left to right. I'm confused with my camera right now. Sorry, guys. Anyway, let's get into this, okay? Right now, this whole week, I just want you to play forte, okay? We'll get into heights and dynamics next week, but this week, just hit the drum, okay? Bounce the stick, hit the drum, and let's go. Let's see. The check pattern, check. So we need to do that. So probably, what, 110? What do you think? Let's see. Oh, man, I wish I didn't do that. All right, let's try this. Yeah, this will work. 110, let's try that. Check pattern, the check. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. So again, 1, 2, go hit the rim, 2, ready, go. That's what the first pattern is, okay? I'll make a whole practice video on just the check patterns because these are so important, especially for bass drummers who all y'all do is play check patterns. That's 90% of y'all's book is the different rhythms broken up. All right, let's go to check pattern number 1 on page 10. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. I keep hitting my drumstick, man. Don't do that. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll blame it on traditional grip. That's why I messed up. I was playing that match grips business. We'll say that. All right. So that's pattern number 1, right? Pattern number 2, 1 and a 2. I guess I should have said that. Let's look at it this way. Let's break this down. I should stop talking and start talking. Dang. 1 E and a. Okay. The 1 E and a. That's all it is. All right. The check pattern number 1. You take off the 1. Now it's E. E and a. 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 Right. The next one. Check pattern 2. You got 1 and a. So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a. All right. Check pattern 3. 1 E 1 E So you take away that one. 1 E 2 E 3 E Right. Check pattern 4. You take out the So it's 1 E N 1 E N 1 E N. Okay. Check pattern 5. You take out the and So it's 1 E 1 E 1 E. You see how I'm doing this? This is the way this is broken down. It's actually really easy when you do it this way. Check pattern 6. You take out the 1 E, so you got and left. And up, and up, and up, and up, and up, and up. Right. What's the next one? Check pattern 7. 1 a 1 a 1 a 1 a 1. Right. 1 E and 1 E and What's the next one? Pattern 8. And. So you get rid of these two. What's the next one? 9. E So you get rid of the 1 and. You got E up, E up, E up. What's the next one? Check pattern 10. You get rid of the E and. So now you got 1 and 2 and 3 and. That one's pretty easy, right? Let's see the next one. Check pattern 11. You got the E only. So you get rid of these, right? Sorry, guys. E, 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 right? You got the and, right? So you get rid of the 1 E, and you leave the and. So and. The next one, the right? 1 E and you get rid of the 1 E and so you're left with the and then yeah, the last one, you get rid of the E and you just got 1, 1, 1, 1. Hope that makes sense. Let's do this. Let's drum through every one of them right quick on this video so that way at least you hear it and you can go practice it, okay? Here we go. Let's drum through these right quick. Start at the check and we'll just run through them. I should have done this first. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Cool. Check pattern number 1. 1, 2. Cool. Check pattern number 2. 1, 2, ready, go. check pattern number 3. Yeah. 1, 2. Cool. Check pattern number 4. 1, 2. Oh, I'm done. Let's do it again. 1, 2. Got it? Check pattern number 5. 1, 2. Cool. Check pattern number 6. 1, 2. 1. Right. Number 7. 1, 2. Right. Check pattern number 8. 1, 2. Check pattern number 9. 1, 2. 1, 2. Right. Check pattern number 10. 1, 2. Man, hitting these drumsticks today. 1. Number 11. 1, 2. Cool. Number 12. 1, 2. Cool. Number 12. 1, 2. No, that was already number 12. Number 13. 1, 2. 2. Ready, go. Cool. Number 14. 1, 2. Ready, go. Cool. So that's at least, now you've at least heard each one of those. Rewind the video for the ones you're going to have trouble with. There's probably 5 or 6 of them that are more tough than the other ones. Generally, those are ones that are not centered around the 1, but centered around like the E. Like the 1 E and that one's a little harder than 1 E and. Does that make sense? The one where it's like E, is going to be harder than 1 and 2 and. Okay? So the ones that are kind of on the off beat are the E's and the U's. Those are going to be ones that kind of give you more trouble. So go back and rewind the video to listen to those so that you can hear it as well as see it and read it. Cool? Man, let's see. What else do we need to get into today? You know what? Since we are on the legato bounce the stick train today, we're not going to get into a lot of dynamic stuff, but we can get into some more timing stuff, can't we? Let's look at number 14, okay? Page 14. It's called Trusting Spaces. Obviously, I did not write it. This really smart guy named Michael McIntosh wrote it. Most of this packet, I guess I should say that, most of this packet is stuff that I've collected over the years from people that are way smarter than me. And then I just put it together to kind of make a packet that's, it's designed to take you from 8th grade, like, middle school band, and if you drum through that whole thing, you'll be ready for college, you'll be ready for, extracurricular band stuff like drum corps or WGI, any of those things that you want to get into, kind of go to the next level. It's not just for high school. We're trying to prepare you personally in case you want to go drum on a higher level than high school. For those people that just want to drum in high school and just have a good time, then awesome. This is going to help you too. You're gonna have a lot more fun because you're gonna be a lot better. There's this kind of weird myth of that kind of runs around in high school of like, I don't want to work hard, I just want to have fun. Well, here's the deal, man. The only thing that's really fun is being good at stuff. I've never seen someone that's like just a loser at what they do, and they think, wow, this is so much fun, I'm like the worst person ever. Like, no one thinks that, okay? Fun comes from accomplishing something hard. We could call it fun, or you can call it success, or you can call it whatever, but the things in life that actually mean things to you and that you'll appreciate will be the hard things. It's the same. You guys already know this. What happens when like you save up your own money and like you buy whatever the latest console is, your PlayStation 7. If you saved up and worked hard for a couple of summers and you bought that thing, you would appreciate it so much. But we all know when stuff is just given to you, like, hey, by the way, here's this used PlayStation 7. Here you go. You can have it. You're like, oh, thanks, man. You might play it some, but then you like kind of leave it and you don't take care of it. It's because there's just something ingrained in us as humans that we appreciate the things that we had to work for. And drumming is one of those things, man. Especially for those who haven't marched yet, you just haven't got the bug because you don't know what we're talking about. But like that first game when you're like in uniform and you show up and you're like throwing down notes and it's really fun and things are sounding good and people are going crazy, like it's an addictive thing, and it makes all this work that we're about to do from now until the marching season worth it. All the months during this summer where we're going to be drumming and putting in work, it's going to be really worth it because you did work hard. Right? It wouldn't be worth it if you just showed up and played on Friday nights and it was like, okay, and you're like, whatever. Yeah, you're not going to get much out of it. But if you put in the work, you're going to get, Mr. Souder always says, you get out of it what you put into it, With drumming, it's the same thing. For the people that just show up and think, I'm going to practice once a week for 10 minutes, like, that's fine. You'll be the person that says they don't like band. And I don't think you don't appreciate it because you're not practicing much. I think you do that. It's the people that work hard appreciate it and they have fun. The people that don't work hard don't have fun, and they blame it on it's just too hard or something. But I don't know, man. I think it's, you need to practice hard. Just try it. Just try practicing hard, and then you'll start to realize like, oh, I'm actually, this is more fun because I'm getting more out of it. And there's another thing that you need to understand. People talk about like self-esteem all the time. Guys, if you want self-esteem, the only way to really get it is to actually overcome an obstacle. That's it. We can talk about like, yeah, just believe in yourself and like have a good self-image. No. You can't fake that. That's like internal, all right? You can't just like, it's not mind over matter with that one. It's, let me find an obstacle and let me figure out how to overcome it. And then now I'm going to feel good about myself because I've accomplished something, right? We already mentioned video games, but that's part of the reason why people like video games, because it is challenging and it is hard. And then when you finally beat that level, you're like, oh, yes, right? What is that? That's self-confidence that came from the fact that you actually worked on something that was hard, and now you're enjoying it, right? A game that's way too easy and you just mow over everybody, it's fun for like a minute, and then you get bored of it and you don't want it because you got to have a challenge, okay? This drumming stuff, this is a challenge. You should get after it, and it'll be worth it, I promise, or your money back. Actually, I better not say that. Sorry, Mr. Souder. No money back. I said all that to say, let's go to page 14, Trusting Spaces. And let's check this out. This gets into timing stuff, okay? Everything we do with band is timing related. Different hand speeds within what we're doing, within a tempo. Let's see. We need to start this thing pretty slow, don't we? Let's try it at like 80. Let's just shoot for 80. That'll be fine. All right, so at 80 BPM, look at the first two bars. You got eighth note, triplet, eighth note, triplet. Okay? Let's play those two bars. Oh, no. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Right, do it again. 1, 2, ready, go. Cool. So that's the first two bars of it, right? Then what we do is we exchange that. We exchange the eighth notes for 16th notes now. Okay. So you got 1E and the 2E and the triplet. 1E and the 2E and the triplet. Okay. Let's do that. 2, 1, 2. Cool. Let's do it again. 1, 2, ready, go. Cool. Now let's put 4 bars together. 4 bars together. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Cool. So there's eighth notes, triplets, and 16th notes. Those 4 bars alone is already 80% of all the rhythms that we're going to see in the show. Now let's look at the next rhythm. Okay, fivelets. Some of you probably, especially the younger kids, probably haven't seen fivelets, but they're really easy. You just say hippopotamus, university, Hillary Clinton, whatever floats your boat. You just count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all it is. So you go hippopotamus, boom, hippopotamus, boom, university, boom, university, hippopotamus, boom. That's all this is. Okay. So the next 2 bars, you can look at it as university, hippopotamus, triplet. University, hippopotamus, triplet. Let's play it. 1, 2. Cool. Real quick, if you notice, I kind of highlighted the downbeat of each hand, of each beat, and that's because on these triplets and the fivelets, they're really easy to think of it this way. Think university, right, left, okay. Hippopotamus, triplet. University, hippopotamus, triplet. And so you're aiming for that hand, okay. You aim for the hand with the metronome. So you go university, hippopotamus, triplet. Now you don't actually play that. You play it all up, but in your head go boom, boom. Okay, let's try it. 1, 2, 1, 2, right then left. See how we're doing that? You aim for that hand with that beat to figure out the hand speed. 1, 2, ready, go. Cool. That's how we handle fivelets. They're pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Okay. Then we've got sextuplets. All right. Sextuplets. You know, people come up with all kind of fancy names, but I just say triplet. And that kind of works pretty well for me so far in life, at least. So think triplet. I'm sure if somebody's got a better way to count that, I'm just not that smart. Let's try it, the sextuplets. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Ready, go. Cool. So that's the sextuplets. We're going to stop there today. This week, I just want you to work on the first 3 lines. Oops, sorry. So page 14, the first 3 lines. Let's play it all together now, okay? All together at 80 BPM. 1, 2, 1, 2. One more time. Does that make sense? Between those rhythms and the duple check patterns, those are going to be most of everything you play as far as from a rhythmic standpoint. There's not much else rhythmically that we'll write. So you see how this stuff, it's not that hard really. It's just a few basics put together, and then we start playing it faster and faster, and then you end up with the cool drumline music that we're all watching and going, man, I don't know what they're doing. It's just these basics played fast. It's pretty cool. So page 14, definitely drum that, okay? Cool. All right. Like I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by a phone call. We're going to do page 58, 8 on the hand. We're going to play page 6, the single beat combinations. We're going to do page 10, the duple check patterns, and page 14, trusting spaces, just the first 3 lines. That'll be enough this week to work on and kind of get things going with the technique. And definitely rewind this video several times, especially that beginning part where we talk about the grip. You want to review that every day this week because there's things about it that you'll start to see, and we'll dig into things farther. Real quick. We've been thinking, we were trying to figure out what we want to do. Get the phone here. We've been trying to decide if we want to wait and just have some kind of video audition post or something. I think instead of doing one, let's just do them every week, okay? So throughout this week, as you start to practice this stuff and you feel like you're mastering it, post your videos in the comment section of this video, okay? That way we can keep it all in one spot, all right? Really important. Let's say that again. Go back to this video, and then in the comment section, post recordings of you playing these things with a metronome. And that'll be the best way to kind of get everybody going. And you'll start to see, who's checking things out, and we'll be able to start helping you too. Because when you post a video of yourself, then we can come in and say, hey, check out this one thing, you're doing this, and we'll kind of be able to help each other out during this time and get better. Does that make sense? It should be fun, guys. I can't wait to all get together again and get to drumming in the same room. It's going to be a lot of fun. Right now, it just seems like it's really far away, but it really won't be. Before you know it, we'll be getting together and we'll be getting on drums and cranking a metronome up and blasting beats, and it's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.